The Gamers, Kyla's Rescue, written and narrated by C. Taylor, edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To purchase the unedited book, please click the link in the description. Chapter 18. From Jared's perspective, the first place they went was a vintage gaming center. It didn't have any sleek simulation rooms or relaxation pods. It had the old-time ground speeder tracks for racing, shooting games that you held blasters that interacted with screens, target testers. The facility was well maintained, but also well used. Jareth had never seen Sky smile or laugh so much. He couldn't remember the last time he had either. They tried every game, raced on the track several times, raced up the artificial cliff, and then did 'em all again. After a long face-to-face fight match wearing protective padded gear, they both were lying on the padded floor mat, gasping. She was an intense and skilled fighter. He had only tried to take it easy on her for the first few minutes. Soon he realized if he was going to survive, he had to pull out all his skills. In the end, neither was the clear winner, but they were both laughing between gasps. He rolled to his stomach, glanced up at his escorts that seemed to have a jealous tilt to their eyes. Were they jealous they didn't get to play, or jealous they weren't on a date with Sky? He watched her recover from their intense physical interaction. How do you know all those fighting techniques? He didn't know anyone else that knew as many. I hoped they would help me with the simulations. I were too expert at one, it didn't work. Tried the next, didn't work. On to another. Kind of goes on from there. Jareth laughed again. Where to next? Not running away from my uniqueness yet? She huffed. Not a chance, he smiled. There is a small eatery I love. It's not fancy or new or popular or sounds perfect. He interrupted and helped her up. Their eatery was comfortable. Food was good, but it was her presence that made it the most enjoyable. They talked about everything they safely could, the healing arts, his interest in politics, her interest in nature. He never thought about purposely subjecting himself to sleeping in a portable shelter, preparing food over a fire, or relieving himself in the woods, but she made it seem extremely appealing. He never wanted their date to end, but too soon it was time to take her back to her apartment. The visitor cruiser docked in Sky's additional port, and they both got out. Would you like to see my place? She offered, still holding his hand. His body, that he purposely kept cool and calm around her, jumped into life. Involuntarily, his head nodded. From Kyla and Kate's perspective, after spending a relaxing afternoon in the Chameleon, Kate and Kyla made their way to the building Sky had shown them. Kate held the cylinder in front of both him and Kyla as they made their way up the stairs in the abandoned building, following Sky's route to the lab from hell. He held Kyla's hand the whole way, carefully monitoring for any signs she was becoming distressed by returning to this nightmarish place. Her pulse remained steady, her breathing even. Kyla pointed her scanner ahead of them and listened for any alert to a security laser or monitor that would betray their location. So far, the stairway was still completely unprotected. It was a clear and blatant blind spot in the security protocols that they still hadn't corrected. They finally reached the floor they needed, but couldn't risk opening the door and just listened through it. Movement, a lot of movement, voices, some screams. Kyla groaned. They were already testing it. She needed to get one. From the building schematics, they located the needed air vent, removed its cover, and Kyla slid through. She moved left, then right at the first two intersections, then straight through four more. The vent opened into a lift shaft, the vent cover dropping into infinity. Be careful, Kate's voice sounded in her head. She smiled, already knowing what she needed to do next. She flexed her jaw to activate her communication implant. What fun would there be in that? She found her target, crouched, then launched. From Sky's perspective, Sky didn't want their date to end, wasn't ready to let go of the hand that magically kept her calm even though the public relations officers followed them everywhere. Every detail of their time together was being streamed across the planet. They wouldn't be able to talk about anything important until they left the planet, as Jareth was required to be escorted at all times during his visit. She still wanted some time with him in a semi-private setting. They entered through the balcony doors. His eyes scanned the large sunken great room, the food prep along the far wall, and a hall that led to the bedrooms as she explained the layout. Sky's eyes pulled back to the counter in the food prep area. There was a large box, markings claiming to be from a founders only clothing store. Her eyes narrowed, wondering who would play such a mean joke on her. Sky guided him to the most comfortable chair in the great room. Please make yourself comfortable. I'll be right back. She walked straight to the box, kept her hand steady as she pulled at the ties sealing the box. She braced herself for what she would find inside. What cruel or disgusting thing would be hidden inside a box that should hold something beautiful? Would you like something to drink? She offered distractedly, finally remembering the social expectation when company is invited into your home. She lifted the lid a little, sniffed as a precaution. If it smelled bad, she would dump it directly into the incinerator, unwilling to have a bad smell linger in her home. No, I'm fine. Are you trying to determine if it's a bomb? Jareff's question sounded concerned. She didn't smell anything, kept lifting, and finally the lid released from the rest of the box. No, just trying to establish the cruelty level of what has to be a joke. Then she gasped. Inside was lush fabric, intricate lacework, precious metal embellishments. She lifted the front of the very heavy and clearly uncomfortable masterpiece up a little to look at it more closely. She was so distracted by it she didn't notice Jeff moving behind her. That's clearly for the Founders Gala. Sky jumped and yelped. He caught her arm that swung at him. I know, but why is it here? I could get in a lot of trouble just having it. The whole situation didn't make any sense. Just then, her communicator alerted to a call from her father. Why the hell was he calling? Sky panicked. She pushed at Jareth. Go wait in one of the bedrooms. I don't care which one. I'll come get you when it's safe. Jareth backed away from her slightly. Safe from your father? His eyes narrowed suspiciously. Sky's temper flared. No, safe from me if my father finds out you're here. Jareth chuckled and disappeared into the hall. Sky tapped the screen. Her father's face appeared. He was smiling. Something he hadn't done for longer than she could remember. Sky, finally! We've been calling for days. Where have you been? Sky felt herself go pale. One option came to her mind. I was spending some time in nature like we used to. It was believable. She just hoped her father was convinced. Oh, of course. I should have known that. I'm so glad you got back in time. Has the gown arrived yet? Sky's world started to spin. She was about to tell her father about the gown and how someone needed to come get it before the whole family got in trouble. Yes, but doesn't it need to be sent back as quickly as possible? Why did she have to explain this? No, we were told 2 days ago the Founders Council granted you special invitation for the gala after they learned you gave up the rest of your extension to go into the healing services. Your plan works, Sky. They voted to allow you several privileges that will be announced at the gala, but that's not the best part. Her mind was spinning. There was a better part? Better than what? He told her they were going to make some announcement about her at the gala. What a nightmare. News feeds are streaming you with diplomat Jareth Badwin. They want you to see if he'd be willing to attend with you. You can tell the council I'd love to come. Jareth's voice sounded from the hall. Sky froze, eyes growing wide as she watched her father. He leaned closer to the screen. Is he still with you? He practically whispered. Sky's mother and sister rushed into view. He is? Where? I don't see him. Sky turned to look toward the hall. Jareth's head was leaning out to watch her. His smile dimpled, but it didn't annoy her this time. He was charming. She couldn't blame her mother or sister for being so excited. She felt a soft smile raise her lips as she looked at him and didn't even try to hide it. She tilted her head quickly twice, wordlessly asking him to join her. He was behind her before she turned back to the screen. Oh, by the potentate, there he is. Yelena and Corey instantly smoothed their hair and greeted him. Corey leaned forward. Hey, Jareth, what club are you going to tonight? Jareth stammered. I, well, I wasn't, I mean, this is more of a research visit, not as much free time. He tried. Corey didn't quit. We all saw what my dear sister put you through. I know you want to have at least some fun on this visit. Sky tensed, hoping it hadn't been too uncomfortable for him. Corey, that's a really nice offer, but Sky's coming, aren't you, Sky? Now she really tensed. Wait, what? No. Oh, come on, Sky. You've bored him enough. Let's show him how fun Sueña really is. That stung. I don't have anything to wear, she admitted. Corey already had her tablet and was tapping. I'm sending you something right now. I can find something, Sky offered, actually scared to see what Corey would pick. Corey shook her head. No, she chuckled sarcastically a little before continuing. No, you won't pick anything. We have a guest that will be joining us tonight, and you will not embarrass the family again. Sky resisted the urge to pull up her knees and hug her legs, knowing it would only make Corey meaner. Okay, just please make sure it won't fall open at the chest like yours always do. Corey looked up at Sky and glared. Sky glared back, didn't flinch, didn't look away. Fine. Corey finally relented and went back to tapping. Sky took a breath. It was a small win, but a win all the same. Jareth took her hand. The call ended. She moved with him to update the escorts with the change in plans. From Kyla and Kate's perspective, Kyla made it to her observation point at the lab. It was busy. As she feared, subjects were already being tested. Before they invaded and destroyed the lab, along with all the records of her forced cooperation, she needed a sample. Then, if Sky was successful in acquiring the needed materials, she would be able to replicate as many as they needed. She flexed her jaw. I'm in position. Good. Keep the communication active. I'm recording everything you see. Will do. From Sky's perspective, Sky looked at herself in the screen. The dress Corey had picked for her was slightly longer in the leg, didn't plunge as deeply in the neck as the one she saw her sister wear to the clubs. It was still miles and miles outside of her comfort zone. Corey had also sent workers to style her hair, which was arranged in an intricate updo with braids and knots. Temporary enhancements to her face and chest had been applied. Sky had to admit she looked pretty good. Not like herself, but pretty good. If she ever wanted to look like someone else, this would be it. Jareth had left to get himself ready a few hours earlier. She heard his cruiser dock, doors open, and close. She ignored the miniature bag that matched the dress and walked with ease on heels she never liked but always had to wear to founder events. She walked down the hall, then into the great room as Jareth walked into her apartment. Both stopped. Both looked at each other, neither able to move for several minutes. He was stunning. Sky felt parts of her start to pound. Her mouth went dry, but other parts of her body felt wet in a way they never had before. She needed something. She still had no idea what, though. You look beautiful, Sky. Jera's voice was husky, soft. The sound made her body pound harder. Thank you. You look amazing, she admitted, her mouth becoming even drier. He smiled, the one he seemed to only show her. Thank you. We should go. Corey sent me the club information. You know my sister. She recognized it earlier, but was distracted by too many things at the time to ask. We've partied once or twice. His smile fell. He looked uncomfortable. Sky nodded and looked down. I'm nothing like her, she admitted softly. I know, he confirmed softly. If you want to go by yourself, I'm only going if you're going. His voice stronger this time, leaving no room to negotiate. She watched him. Could she really do this? She originally agreed to see if holding his hand would allow her to spend time at the club without her ending up huddled in a bathroom stall. If it didn't work, though. She felt his hand in hers. She hadn't realized he'd moved until that moment. Willing to give it a try? He asked softly. He knew she was nervous. How did he do that? Her eyes caught his. They twinkled in the light, and she felt lost again. Only this time, it felt really good. Somewhere in her mind, she noticed her head had nodded its agreement. His eyes left hers. Her hand was being pulled. Her feet were moving. This was happening. From Kyla's perspective, Kyla watched the lab techs as they finished up for the day. The small implants she came for were handled carefully. Everyone was counted and stored, nothing was allowed to be missed. Each person that stored an item was double checked, counted, and confirmed by another, the redundancies purposely in place to remove any chance of mistakes. Kyla aimed the light beam at the retina monitor as the lab tech holding the specific implant they needed approached the holding chamber. She held it steady as the retina scanner checked the tech's eye. A loud beep sounded, and the large door swung open. She watched to see where he placed the tray in the large room. After getting everything she needed, Kyla started working her way back to Cade. From Jareth's perspective, Jareth made sure to hold Sky's hand as they entered the club. The music was loud, a regular thumping vibrated the air, strobe lights flashed, and there was a crush of people. If his understanding of Sky's conditions were right, this would be torture for her. He shifted his thumb to her wrist. Her heart rate was slightly faster than normal. He felt the tension in her hand, but it wasn't frantic. She was doing okay. Attention shifted to him once they entered the main room. Cheers at seeing him started close and quickly spread through the giant space. People rushed to greet him. Some he knew. Most would want to pretend they knew him. His uncle would hear if he didn't feed his own popularity, so Party Jareth was in full force. Authentic Jareth never let go of Sky's hand, kept monitoring her, would glance at her often. She was smiling, a dazzling smile that had his heart racing, but not from stress. Well, not the unpleasant kind of stress. More surprising, she was mingling with clever banter, masterfully easing out of inappropriate attention or actions before Jareth would need to put them in their place for disrespecting his date. It was the most fun he'd ever had at any club. Wondering if he was pushing his luck, he led their way to the dance floor. He started to move with her. She moved back with him. If he thought the way she moved on the sparring mat earlier that day was impressive, she was magic on the dance floor. He couldn't always hold her hand, but she kept her eyes on his. Her body swayed and undulated in perfect rhythm to the music. All of it while wearing high heels that surprised him how graceful she was in them. He had only seen her natural beauty. This enhanced version was just as impressive. His enjoyment was cut short. Familiar moans sounded to their left, and he knew they were about to be interrupted. Jareth, you made it. The sound was sultry. Corey closed the distance in impressive speed given the crowd and latched onto him in an inappropriate hug considering he was on a date with her sister. He felt her shift, noticed the unmistakable press of her now uncovered right side of her chest against his chest. He pulled Sky to his side, arm around her waist and hand flexed to make sure she didn't run with what was happening. To his surprise, oh, there it is. Sky already noticed, didn't flinch or pull away, didn't even sound angry. Corey giggled. Oops, I hate it when that happens, she claimed as she pulled away. She didn't bother to adjust her top until everyone within seeing distance got a look. Really? I thought it wasn't a party until they made their appearance, Sky mentioned calmly. Jareth's mouth twitched. Sky's savage side was coming out, and he loved it. Corey let out an unapologetic huff. Damn straight, she said right before opening her whole top, showing both, then finally settling her top back into place. Cheers erupted around her. Several men clawed at her, and she smiled, letting herself be pulled away, all while keeping her eyes locked on Jareth's. He knew she was trying to make him jealous. She was always trying to manipulate him like this. He wished she understood there was a reason it never worked. His arm flexed around Sky, pulling her flesh to his body, her eyes locked to his. He expected to see anger there, at him, at her sister, at the interaction that just happened. Instead, her eyes were searching his with what he thought might be worry. Are you okay? The soft words sounded in her magic voice. That simple question, full of concern, not judgment or jealousy, broke something in him. Something he created long ago to protect himself against the horrors of his life. Like the window he saw in her, and miracle of miracles she let him in. His walls were now down, and he prayed she wouldn't run from him. Hope beyond hope she would join him like he joined her. He was lost in her eyes. He felt her hand cup his face, concern growing in her expression. Jareth, what can I do to help? Please let me in like you did for me. How did she do that? Know what he needed, how to help. He lowered his head, resting his forehead against hers. You've already helped, you're already in. His voice couldn't form the words in anything more than a whisper so quiet he was sure she hadn't heard him. That same moment, she moved her body into his, adding pressure to the existing contact, and her hands tightened. Good, was all she whispered back, and he heard it. He remembered the communication implant, hadn't realized he had activated it. His arms closed around her, his body lifting her, pressing both together even more. He wanted to kiss her, wanted to seal her his, but he didn't know how to make it last more than one night. He needed her longer than one night. He forced his body to cool, something he'd gotten quite good at since meeting her, but it took extra effort now with next to no results. He knew he couldn't mess this up, not with her, so he ignored the need clawing at him. Ready for a break? He asked in her ear. From Sky's perspective, Sky shivered, feeling his breath on her ear as he asked. Her body urgently needed something, and it wasn't rest. She needed to move. Her body needed exertion. She felt like she could run all night. She shook her head against his neck, smelled something that made her body pound harder, and adjusted her estimation. Run for a week. That might do it. Can we still dance? My body is really restless. I don't know why. She felt him growl. At least that's what it sounded like, but she felt it vibrate through his body that was pressed against hers. He set her back on the ground, but kept her closer than before. They moved together. Her body continued to pound with a need she didn't understand, but also wouldn't allow her to break contact with Jareth. They danced for what felt like hours, longer than she had ever been able to stay at a club. Other girls tried to pull him away from her, but he declined. Other men requested Sky's attention, which surprised her until she remembered she was there with Jareth. Most likely it made her desirable by association. If they only knew, she thought. Eventually, Jareth pulled her close again. How are you so good at this? He asked. Sky didn't understand the question. Good at what? This. You dance like a pro, you're clever with conversation, you walk in high heels and wear skimpy outfits like you were born to it. You look like you love this, but I know you're hating all of it. How do you do it? Sky's smile softened. I'm a double founder. I had already embarrassed my family enough for my training. I could socialize, and I was really good at it. I didn't like it, but I made myself good at it. He was watching her. There was something in his eyes that called to her. Life is full of those little things that we have to do that we don't like to fit in. Sky nodded. To be liked. To survive. They both said at the same time. The sadness seeped into their little magic bubble. She could feel it, could see it in Jareth. Suddenly, the room was too loud, too crowded, too much. They hadn't gotten the signal from Kate and Kyla yet. She rubbed the back of her neck to calm herself and looked around. I think I'd like that rest now, she requested. From Jareth's perspective, Jareth nodded and led her to a private terrace he had arranged in case Sky needed it. At least that's how he explained it on the reservation. What he didn't expect is that he would need it too. Normally, when he went to the clubs, he would mingle, be the life of the party, always the crazy fun one. Living with his uncle required him to increase his uncle's popularity to earn his keep and the diplomatic credentials both he and Cade needed. He had done it, done all of it to perfection, no matter the request. He was good at it, and he hated every minute of it. No wonder he understood Sky so well, had from the beginning. But tonight had been fun. She had made it fun. He had thought she was having fun. Then the bubble burst. His simple question made it all crash down. Sky leaned against the safety rail, took a deep breath of the cool night air, and looked up over the city. I didn't mean to ruin the fun, she breathed. Jareth came up behind her, hands on the rails at both sides of her. I stopped wanting to share you just for a moment. Sky looked down and nodded. She was quiet. Too quiet. He wanted to ask her, get her to tell him the things she didn't tell anyone else. He wanted to talk to her about the things he didn't talk about with anyone else. He wanted to be back in his room on the warship like they had been for over a week, but now was not the time. This was not the place. Would you like a drink? This brought her eyes to his again. Yes, that would be wonderful. What would you like? He asked, lost in her eyes again. Anything that doesn't bite, she requested. You don't like sharp drinks? He wasn't sure why this shocked him. Others he'd known with her condition used it to dull the pain. Sky shook her head gently. No, I tried it once, but it just seemed to amplify everything. I didn't like it, and then no one liked me when they found out I don't drink them. Jareth smiled back at her. I know just the thing. Wait here, I'll be right back. He paused to instruct his driver to keep everyone off the terrace. His escort followed him to make the drink order. He told himself it was to make sure the drink was mixed correctly, but he needed some space from Sky before he did something irreversible. His body had been throbbing all night. His little friend refused to ease the hell down. After making his order, Corey attacked. Hey, Jareth, my little sister already boring you to tears? Jareth exhaled. This was the last thing he needed. Just having a break for round two. Corey giggled, that throaty one he'd heard many times. I took you to round four, if I remember. Jareth steeled himself to look at her. I do. I also remember telling you I don't go past one night, ever. You should move on to your next one. Corey reached up and stroked the back of his neck. I remember, but I didn't think you would want to waste one of your nights on Suenia with my boring sister. She glanced behind her and waved her hand. That's why I brought my friends. You haven't had them yet. Jareth's nostrils flared in anger. Unfortunately, his body was already primed and ready from his time with Sky. A throbbing ache that needed to be fed, a need that had been clawing at him since he'd met her. A need that could destroy everything they had together if he gave in to it. Burning off as much as he could tonight could give him time to figure out how to make it last longer than one night with Sky. What had they just said about doing things they didn't want to do to survive? He wasn't sure he wanted to survive anymore if he lost her. He stifled his disdain, ordered the drinks be sent to the terrace, and followed the girls. From Cade and Kyla's perspective, Cade had taken Kyla several times against the wall a few floors down from the lab while they waited. Cade had slipped a monitor in the hall outside the door to the stairs to verify if there was any night security. There was none. No security officers patrolled the site after the work was done. It was all watched by the monitors. Kate had found the main relay that sent the live stream, had bypassed it, and now it displayed footage they recorded on a loop. Removed the timestamp, and Kyla overlaid the current timestamp on their recorded footage to give them the time they needed. Now they had full access to the lab until work started the next morning. They both went through the door down the hall to the main lab. It was locked. Kate started on bypassing the alert, and Kyla slipped the brace over her ears that held the eye screen to her left eye. Kate finished connecting the bypass and nodded to Kyla. She then turned her screen on to display the image she'd captured earlier. She leaned in for the scan. A faint laser zigzagged across the screen. Both held their breath until the locking mechanism sounded. They both smiled. Kate disconnected the bypass that recorded the scan and kept the only record of their entry stored within the device. They walked through the door and Kyla led the way to the vault. Kate attached the bypass again. Kyla ran the scan, and they were in. Kyla moved quickly to where she'd watched them be placed. She picked up one tray, then quickly stepped out. Notify Sky we have the implants. Cade placed the amplifier into his ear, flexed his jaw, and spoke. Sky, can you hear me? Loud and clear. How's your part of the plan going? Perfect. We need you at the Chameleon. Jareth, stall for time. Cade, I'm on my way.